Well, here's the complimentary 360. And he's backpacked up here. Day 2 now, I think. I'm gonna make camp right where I'm standing. Now look at this. Look at this view. Where'd you rather be in the planet? We're in the middle of frickin' nowhere. And we're gonna go to sleep right here. Wake up right here. And we're gonna break camp right in front of these sheep right here. We're gonna make camp in front of these rams. Right here. All right, I'm back. Hello, world. Kind of late in the day. Well, no, it's not really late. It's midday. It's only 1:30. And I finally got our second elk back from the butcher. I picked it up this afternoon, and I got him to save all the bones. So I tossed the adventure dog here a chunk of femur bone. She's destroying it under my feet. So if you hear some weird noises, it's her. I wonder if I should boot her out. It's a pretty noisy bone. Hey, Bubs? She'll be alright. Now, what's going on today? Sunday, October 27th. We went out in the woods today, tried to find a herd of about 20 elk nearby. We spotted the other day, but it was next to impossible. And I decided not to go out to get my trail cameras today. Sarah probably might want to come with me, and then I'll let them soak at least a couple more days. And then that'll be it for trying to find those big bull elk for this year in that particular area. And I'll pack my cameras away to go up north. Now, who do we got? We got a lot, I think. I had a funny thought the other day. Imagine if these people were finally acknowledged publicly across the board. They came out somewhat integrated into society, and then all of a sudden they wanted to have their own category in the Olympics. No, all of a sudden they wanted to have Sasquatch Olympics. Could you imagine if these people actually decided to come forward and live similar to us and we had Sasquatch Olympics? Think about the events you could come up with. Hey? Think about the events. Oh, how about the running races? Shot put? Yeah. But the way the government's going today, they'd probably pit them against women. Right? They'd probably put them in against women in women's sports. Now. Alright, I'm going to kick her out. Give me a minute. Alright, who we got? Listen to this. This email is titled, "What Did I See?" ? Hello, Steve. I've been watching your channel for over a year now. I've listened to a lot of what you say. I think that you're a type of person I'd like as a friend. I'll try to describe this as short as possible. I'm 66 years old. I've been a hunter and a camper all my life. I've traveled a lot and I've spent time in the woods all over America. I joined the Army when I was 18, and after 4 years I moved here. I lived in the middle of Tennessee. I live on a big plateau surrounded by mountains and a ridge that runs through it. I'm retired. I don't get around like I used to, so I'm home a lot. Last spring I stepped out on my second-story front porch because it was a bright sunny day, and across the road from me is a large open field with a small pond by the tree line. The woods are miles wide and deep. As I was standing there, I heard a loud screaming roar that I can't really describe, but I can still hear in my head. It was close to the edge of the woods. It was too loud to be human. It kind of wavered between a scream and a howl and started with 3 grunts that sounded primate to me. Being a hunter, I've heard many animal sounds, and this I did not recognize. Then a month or so later, and I don't know if these are related, I'm just saying what I heard and saw. Later I woke before dawn. It had a storm that night, and there was a heavy fog everywhere. It was just starting to get light, and I stepped out my door and looked across the street to where the pond is. Fog was swirling around and coming off the pond, and as I looked at the far edge of the pond, a creature stood up. It was 10 to 12 feet tall and had a conical-shaped head. There were long arms that went to its knees, and it was covered in fog, like it was sticking to it. And it was thin for its size. It looked at me, but I couldn't make out many features due to the fog. Then it turned, took 3 huge steps, at least 8-foot strides, and disappeared. I know what I saw. But I haven't told many people about it because, you know. I have no idea what it was, but this seemed like a good place to share it. Thanks for what you do. I'll be watching. Mike. I have no idea. And then it stopped. All right. There you go, Mike. Welcome to the club. I'm pretty sure following this channel, you know what you saw. You know what you saw. What a creepy setting, too, right? With the fog. Straight out of a horror movie. Tennessee. What is up with Tennessee being so off the rails when it comes to this
weird things. Now, what do we got here? Mark this as red. Hi, Steve. Okay, it's titled Verifying Waldo Lake Wilderness Experience. I was there. Don't do what I did. Let's title this email. Hi, Steve and the How to Hunt family. Waldo Lake harassment was my third experience. I'll start at the beginning so everyone understands that I was very much like the young man buffalo farmer. In 1968, I immigrated to BC to a remote cattle ranch 32 miles from Nasco Trading Post Reservation and 48 miles north of Alexis Creek. First, while bringing animals to the ranch, we were delayed at the Sumas border and arrived at Williams Lake around 9 at night. The only place we could get for 3 horses and 3 dogs was an old shack 3 to 5 miles away from town, around the lake with a corral. After we got horses settled and belongings moved into the shack, new stepdad and I went out to feed, water, and check on animals. And then the screaming started. Horrific, women being mortally violated screams, loud, coming from 4 or 5 different spots around the lake. Ooh, that'd be a lot to take in. Stepdad says must be cougar mating season. My ass. I'm only 7 and I know he's talking shit. A year later, our whole family and one hired help are all at the dinner table at the ranch, and oh shit, another horrific scream. Everyone stops chewing food with wide eyes open and total shocked silence, at least 30 seconds. It is so loud, even in the ranch house. Stepdad says, it must be a cougar running around. I'll check for tracks in the morning. He comes back the next morning muttering something unintelligible about not finding any cougar tracks. Mid-June, 76, all the spring runoff is gone and Muskeg isn't too full to be passable. I have the cabin/spring fever fishing itch bad. I wanted to get to the Nasco River before native guides come through and fished out all the good spots. Stepdad wouldn't let me take the 32 special, so I headed south to the Nasco River with a 12-gauge, lightweight, beginner's model Winchester single shot armed with 3-inch goose loads and a pocket fisherman. 6 miles cross country down Martin Meadow Creek. On the way, I saw 4 large grizzlies. On the way, I saw a sign from 4 large grizzlies in the form of poop mountains. While avoiding their feeding habitat, I had a 70-yard face-off with the largest black bear boar I've ever seen up close. He woofed at me and went back to eating sweet vetch in the poplars. I get down to the river and fish successfully for rainbows and squawfish amid all the grizzly sign. I make a riverbank fire and eat my catch, so a grizzly doesn't want to eat leftovers off my back. I make it 2 to 3 miles away from the river up to the box canyons before the muskeg on the way to the ranch, and then something is following me. I stop. Crash. 1 footstep after mine. I'm a full-blown bush boy, running trap lines, playing in the woods with natives. I know everything I hunt and what could hunt me. Previously running trap line, a 2 to 3-year-old cow moose followed me thinking I was one of her group. We had a mutual scare. She ran away after I shot her in the ass with my 10-pump Crossman and ran for the nearest spruce tree I thought I could climb in a hurry. So I see a likely ambush spot with meadow and no cover and a 12-inch tree to run around. I'm going to confront whatever large animal's following me. Grizzly, moose, cat, wild horse, or cow. I charged full sprint 70 to 100 feet to that 12-inch tree and had the drop on what was following me. My 12-gauge poked around the tree, and breathless, I stood there examining all the ground, rabbit high up, nothing. I knew for sure I was looking right at a very large animal. All my hunting skills screamed, it is right in front of you. Nothing to be seen. After 3 to 4 minutes staring, I ducked behind the tree and took 5 to 6 steps like I was walking away and darted back and looked around the other side of my cover tree. Still nothing. I got back on the road, headed for the ranch, and walked no more than 50 yards. Crash. It sounded like an inch and a half or bigger dry limb being snapped off. I hoofed it fast as possible, 2 miles with 5-foot long shotgun and pocket fisherman flapping. Number 2, Waldo Lake Wilderness Area in Oregon. My friend Steve and I purchased float tubes and did a hike in for float fishing. We 4x4'd it 5 miles or so past Waldo Lake and did 3 lake hiking, mosquito inhaling, hard day paddling / hiking. Mosquitoes were so bad, went back to camp instead of camping on the lake. 8:30, we eat a can of soup and crash in the tent. We are wore the F out. I'm awakened suddenly to loud gibbering / monkey noises, and I saw 2 handprints slap the sides of the tent. I'm pissed. Earlier, hunters were raising hell, having fun in an upper campground. I get up, my .357 mag in my waistband and a flashlight. Steve is incoherent. Didn't know why I'm all jacked up. I slip up behind a tree 20 feet or so from the tent near the trail, waiting for a drunk hunter to go back to his camp. I am pissed. I'm going to jack this MFer up, clothesline him with a pistol whip if required, and teach him some camp etiquette. It's dark as F, everyone's lights are out. Hunter's camp is silent. After more than 5 minutes, a lady walks up the trail with a flashlight. I step out and scare the shit out of her. I asked, and she replied her tent was harassed, same as mine. Her husband slept through it. I believe she sent the story into you, Steve, 2 or 3 years ago, and I feel bad for not responding earlier. I was there. After I got back to the tent, it was 12:30 a.m. I heard a couple years later it was application only, limited access permits only there. Number 3, Marion Lake float tube loner trip. Buddy Steve couldn't make it. I hike in 2.5 miles to Marion Lake off Oregon Cascades Highway. Poor fly fishing till I paddle across the lake and find a feeder creek. I haul out, pack up the float tube and fins and waders. Brook trout are banging at almost every cast. And after 20 minutes, I had 8 to 10 fish landed. And I hear a low, rumbling growl. Turned too loud. Pissed off Tarzan yell. From hell. 30 seconds long. 3 breaths and continuation, 30 or more seconds each. 30 seconds each. Isn't that crazy? I came from a peninsula a third of a mile across the lake. I decided it was time to quit being a loner and get the hell out of there. Almost back to the trail, a young female college student wearing USFS uniform accosted me for wearing my mom's .38 Special loaded. I assured her I wasn't going to shoot innocent wildlife. I asked if she heard the pissed off Tarzan yell and asked why she wasn't packing. No comment. I got a parking ticket, even though I paid for wilderness permit when I exited government grounds. 2 years later, I heard Marion Lake was application access only with 2 to 3 month waiting period. I've never seen a sabe I could see, even when he was right in front of me and I had the drop on him. I've never seen a for sure track. Maybes? Lots of them. Don't do what I did thinking you're the baddest MFer out there with some metal on your hip. They laughed at me and my 12 gauge and broke limbs. I need a machine or a mechanical advantage to break. If that gibbering lunatic at Waldo Lake had come walking up the trail while I was hiding behind a tree waiting to clothesline him, I would have shit my pants. Don't do what I did. P.S. Steve, sorry it took so long, but I wanted to get a message out to the How to Hunt family and the gal I met on the trail at Waldo Lake. I was there. I didn't ask for it, and it happened. Oh, I believe you. I believe you. I don't know if a Sasquatch would actually let himself get lined up for a clothesline from a human being, but yeah, you're right. That would be pretty bad. That would be pretty bad. Mark this as read. Titled info. Hi, Steve. Third email for me. The first reached you, the second not certain. I just want to add there is only Sabe in the woods. Sorry, I just want to add that there is not only Sabe in the woods. They don't care if it's in nighttime or daylight. Sabe people don't care one bit about us. Other beings? Maybe they are dangerous ones. Sorry, other beings maybe are the dangerous ones. 20 years now I had my experience, and since I found you, I've learned a lot because of other experiences of people, and because where you sent us searching. I'm back in the woods. Thanks, Steve, and thanks to every member. When you say the government knows, it's a fact. But there's a higher group of power over our government. I was born on a 12-day ... Is it majestic or what? ... Read between the line. Take care, Steve. Like you say, something is coming. I hope we're wrong. All right, well, here is the next email from you attached to this one. Or maybe it's the one before. I'm going to find out. Hi, Steve. Keep my name secret, please. Excuse my English. I am French Canadian. I take this time because I think it is for a good cause. I lost everything by telling my people. I lost my wife, my son, my daughter, my friends. So I choose who I share my encounter with. That's pretty harsh. I'm listening to your podcast for 3 years now, trying to find my way, knowing they exist. I told my people, like you say, it is the good thing to do. But my friends laughed at me, and my family kind of killed my soul. I've been trying to find the truth since my encounter in 2004. I know what I saw. Daylight. In the woods with only a crossbow in hand. It passed about 75 feet to my right. I will live with this moment for the rest of my life. 2 years ago, I wrote my encounter to you, asking if I should go back into the woods. Even if I feel something is holding me from going, I can't explain it. Like if it was implanted in me. I did some research and found information I was not hoping for. My ex-neighbor was a leader for the GRC search and rescue team. He went everywhere in Canada to find people in the wild. So, last year I went to see him, to see how he was. But I also asked him a few questions. But there's one question that made him smile. Have you ever encountered something strange in the woods? He smiled and responded by a question. What do you want to know? I told him I needed to find the truth. And then I told him my encounter. And that it was important for me to move forward. He told me to keep his name secret for multiple reasons, which I complied. And this is what he told me. Yes, there are beings kept secret by the government. To his knowledge, 3 official kinds, one not confirmed. Not confirmed means it needed more officials captured. Sasquatch, Dogman, Tall Greys are all confirmed. My jaw was on the floor. What he told me shocked me. He told me that these things are not from here. They cannot tell if it's from another planet or another dimension. They don't know. But they have captured some that have been taken by another group of people. This group is formed with people of many countries. Steve, he told me more than I could take in. Steve, he told me more than I could take in 15 minutes than I found in 18 years. He was leading a special team since the 1980s. He retired in 2010, but still was getting informations from these people. He passed away this spring. I did not have the chance to see him and thank him enough. People don't want to know what they cannot understand. That is why every witness has a problem talking about it. Because you get judged very fast. People are afraid. Knowing is for ourselves. Excuse me. I'm alone in my experience. Only in your podcast I can feel at my place. The truth will come out soon. Something is about to change in our life, and we have to prepare. Thanks, Steve, for helping me moving forward. I am going back in the woods this fall, and I am ready. The best to you and loved ones. And there you go. I'm guessing that's I didn't read that email before, so I'm guessing that's the one you didn't hear. There might be a slight French accent written in with that email. Interesting email, right? That's from Quebec. It's a funny side note. I was running a huge job in Alberta years ago for these French contractors, and I'll never forget the one guy had a real strong French accent, and he actually wrote with an accent. He wrote down a list of things that need to be get done. That if we have to go get gas, he spelled it G-A-Z. We have to go get the gas. Tall grays. I believe that is true too at this stage of my ride. Holy, here's a long one. Should I do it? All right, I'm going to do it. I'm going in. Sabe, near-death experience, and the energy of the universe. All right, here we go. Buckle up, get a drink, get some popcorn, go to the bathroom. Right? It's going to be a long one. Hi, Steve. Much appreciate your channel. You're sharing the words that people need to hear and know. I hope that you and your family, both two-legged and four-legged, are good. I've been an avid listener of your channels for about a year now, and in my spare time when I'm not working with horses or my sanctuary parrots, I do a form of art where I cannot watch TV while working. So listening to your stories goes hand in hand with my art. Some parts of this email may get into territory many will not comprehend. So just hang in there. I hope it all makes sense. I wrote you a handful of other emails. I think they may have gotten lost, so I'm taking all the emails I sent and compiling them into one email. This may take some time, so please come only with an open mind. How we interpret what we see in our perception is deeply tied into our spiritual beliefs. Now, I don't judge anyone for whatever beliefs they have as long as it harms no one. We are entitled to our own perceptions, and people's beliefs shape their perception, and most are aware of this. Where I live is in far, far northern California. Not cities and beaches, but mountains, rivers, lakes, and forests. Myself and many people I know who have lived in this area a long time have had experiences with the Sabe, or little people, or other phenomena. It's not hard. You live in a place where you can spend time in so many beautiful areas, that's what you do. But my first experience didn't start here. It started when I was around 5 years old in a town closer to Central California. Can't really explain it, but I was going out to the swing set in the backyard. It was not behind the house, but kind of around the back and on the side of the house where the backyard wrapped around. Behind the swing set were some bushes or weeds. I was young, so I don't know which it was. I heard a growling sound from the bushes, and when I looked at them, they were all very large spiders moving around, each about the size of 2 to 3 basketballs. I think this other thing does relate. Prior to this event, my father said, when coming home from work one night through the back hills of Berkeley, through an area called Canyon, he saw a UFO flying saucer. He also had experiences similar to this before, as I believe his mother may have also had experiences. Almost forgot to mention how my younger brother, when he was a toddler, was picked up by a hawk and almost carried away from our backyard. All throughout childhood, I sensed things others did not. I also have the gift of lucid dreaming, where I can gain control of my dreams and I know I'm in a dream. I've also had ancestors visit me in dreams to give messages, and had prophetic dreams about things that would happen to people I know, or even things that ended up happening in the future in my own. I also have waking visions of seeing through someone else's eyes. These increased senses had me down many rabbit holes studying many different phenomena from ancient religions and spiritual practices, earth energy dowsing, psychic phenomena, comparative religious studies, dream work, which led to healing work, animism, and then traditional shamanism, all over the last 35 years. If you're unfamiliar with the last two things I mentioned, animism and shamanism, I'll get into that in a minute. In times of old, I am speaking of ancient pre-Christian times, back when people had a covenant system based on bartering from village to village, kingdom to kingdom. The people's lives were in tune with the earth's energies. They had to be. For people lived and died by whether or not they had a good harvest, and in order to ensure a good harvest, they had to have the knowledge of the best way to do that. People also slept closer to the ground or on the ground. Their shoes or foot coverings were made of natural materials that did not block the earth's energy communion with their feet. The bottom of the feet have nerve endings connected to every other place in the entire body, energy system and nerve system. The peoples also held a reverence for nature. Everything had a soul or spirit, animism. Some places, more so than others, were known to have more powerful energy, vortexes/portals to other realms. These portals exist along the Earth's energy system called meridians. Meridians in Chinese acupuncture and acupressure system. To many of the ancient people, I am going to reference the ancient Nordic peoples and Celtic peoples. These lines were also called serpent lines or dragon lines. There are places where the lines cross each other and create a power point energy center, and these power points have varying degrees of energy depending on how clean and clear the lines are that cross. Some are superpower like Mount Shasta, Mount Kailash, Stonehenge, the pyramids. From the places of great power, the lines connected to them crisscross each other, distances away from them, creating more power centers. Any of these power centers can cause the veil between our realm and the other realms to become thin. People in ancient times knew this. That is what these places were built at. That is why these places were built at these locations. In Chinese medicine, these power points on our own bodies are called acupoints. The earth has them too. The other realms don't exist somewhere else as many think. They exist here, at a higher energetic frequency than we humans vibrate at. Most other animals can see them. I think that's quite true. So many people who are not even religious, think in a way of dichotomous dualism. Because it is a governmental military program, they think everything is separate. They work to divide everything and to keep people hating other people. As if heaven, earth, and hell are the only truth that exists, and that they are all separate from each other. The other realms exist right alongside ours, not somewhere else. This can be seen when studying the cosmologies of ancient spiritual systems, where there is a unifying silver lining known as the world's tree or tree of life, which ties everything together. This can be found in almost every ancient belief system around the planet. These other realms exist within that tree. I'll give two examples. The Celtic world tree has three worlds. The roots connected to the past, the ancestors, the trunk connected to the present, the nature beings, the branches connected to the future, and shining beings, also known as gods or goddesses. In Nordic tradition, it is called the Yggdrasil. The Yggdrasil. 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 In ancient times, there is a deep respect for the natural world, but that is where people lived. Because of this close connection, there was increased awareness or heightened senses. These beings from the other realms had relations with the humans and with their deities. This way of life was called animism, and this is where shamanism comes from, though it was a later development around 12,000 years ago. However, animism is the first known knowledge and spiritual tradition on our planet. I'm not going to get into comparing different cultural areas, except to say that each area had their own stories that are very particular to their area of nature in the land where they lived. They have similarities in many ways, but they also have distinctive differences that should also not be ignored. To the ancients, the concept of good versus evil was not how they viewed reality. It was more of seeing it as a balancing act of chaos and order, and that both were necessary to maintain life. The concept of good versus evil, or dichotomous dualism, is a Christian concept that came much, much later in time. For also originally the ancient Essenes, Yeshua's people, were animistic as well. Note, Yeshua is the real name for Jesus, a dark-skinned Middle Eastern man. The Norse world's tree, called the Yggdrasil. So why am I screwing up on this word, this name? Yggdrasil. They've typed down the pronunciation for me. Yggdrasil. Has 9 worlds or 9 realms. Yeah, it's where Tolkien stole a lot of info he used in his books. Each realm is ruled by a type of being. A Jotunheim, Jotun/giant, Hein/home. There's also a realm for dwarves and elves. These are descriptions of other realms. Giants have been spoken about in almost every ancient culture. So has some form of little people, and there are many types of them. Before I speak of my brief experience, I need to mention that as a child, my father taught my brothers and myself how to douse for water and for energy lines or metal. Over many years, I invested a lot of time into continuing my study of dowsing and kinesiology, to map dowsing for ley lines, to locate places to visit. Then, when I moved into an intermountain community on forest land, I divined the land with dowsing to find where to build a sacred space to hold gatherings for ceremonies. Part of building a sacred space is to wake up and clear any blockages in the energy lines. Very much the same way acupuncture or acupressure is performed on our own bodies. We cleared the space. Then it took time to build, and with each part of the building process, I allow my ancestors and nature spirits to guide the way it unfolded. So I spent decades in the study and practice of animism, which is a pagan heathen system of the ancient Celtic and Nordic peoples. This led to many years spent with many kinds of people practicing and learning the ways of healing and talking to spirits and otherworldly beings. Back when I lived in the Intermountain area, I created a space and held gatherings for people who seek to journey within for healing, finding their true presence beyond and behind the ego through ceremonies and rituals done in the old way. We usually facilitated many gatherings every year. On the new moon for healing, and on the equinoxes and solstices for honoring and celebrating. During one of our gatherings, we were all just finishing up the end of a ceremony during a quiet prayer and meditation time when something came crashing through the woods about 200 feet above our circle, where we sat on the ground with our center fire. It stopped just north of us about 30 feet and stayed there. The smell was very strong, like old rotting meat and vegetables. There was a pressure in the energy then. It was all around us. And no one moved. We all had heightened senses from our practices, so it was just kind of understood. No one moved until the being left. Whoever it was had watched us for about 20 minutes. No one experienced anything odd. No lost time, no memory lapse. No one really mentioned anything about it afterwards. And after the ceremony, we have a ritual feast everyone contributes to, and we tell stories, play music, and not listen to the radio. We had several musicians there, including myself. At a different gathering, same place, someone snuck a camera in which we didn't allow, and she took many pictures. And the picture of the feast and the music were full of little orbs of light. Not a faulty camera, as the orbs were in a specific location and nowhere else in any of the other pictures. The orbs looked like they had tiny beings of light inside of them. 2 days later, there was ball lightning that struck or erupted from the ground just 20 feet or so to the north of the circle. It happened during nighttime while asleep. But the next morning I found a huge depression, like a crater in the ground, with a line of smoldering ground stretched up 70 feet towards my house. I know that ball lightning can come from power places on the planet. I've experienced this same thing before in another powerful place. I've since moved from that location 14 years ago now and miss it terribly. And note, since I first wrote all of this, Northern California had the Park Fire, which burned hundreds of thousands of acres. This place where I used to live was burned up in that fire. Now, I have thought about this a lot for many years because I had not mentioned that my brother also had a Sabe experience many years before. My family owned a fishing shop right on the edge of town, and there was a back room where my brother lived. He told me one morning he went out front to have a cigarette and saw a large Sabe up on a hill across the main street, come down the hill, cross the street, then went down the hill behind the fishing shop. My brother followed him, but when he got behind the shop, he had completely disappeared. He believes it came to warn him about something. And during the nighttime that night, there was a drive-by shooting where several rounds were shot at the fishing shop. Thank goodness there was a refrigerator in the way of where my brother slept, for it saved his life. Another time back in my early 20s, I went to a gathering at Twin Lakes near Castle Crags in Dunsmuir, California. It's a beautiful place, about halfway between Redding and Mount Shasta, city in California, off Interstate 5. I got there after it was already dark outside, and there were many people there. Lots of hippie-type folks. I'm not talking 20 or 30, I'm talking hundreds. There were all kinds of different things going on, from different music circles, campfires, drum circles. So the people I came with, we walked around to check things out. No one had any flashlights or anything. We just tried to stay on the trails and look for campfires to go visit. But one thing was for sure, we all felt little people walking around with us. About 2.5 to 3 feet tall. We couldn't see them as it was dark, but we felt them brush past or walk with us as we were walking, then disappear before we get to the next fire circle. I can't help but think that maybe my whole family or many of my family members haven't had experiences with them is not a coincidence. Since I moved to the valley, this place seems pretty void of little people in Sabe. I'm in the country, but still pretty close to a small farming town now. We have a small ranchette, and I work with horses for a living, so we have a few animals and try to be thankful daily for everything we have and enjoy being alive in this beautiful place. The cutoff of our connection to the land led to the diminishment of our abilities. Since before Christianity and Catholicism became a dominating force on our planet, people lived in tune with the earth. They gave thanks for the birth of original blessing. They believed much the same as many of the First Nations people, for they were also First Nations people, our ancestors. You go far enough back in anyone's ancestry, you will find you all come from indigenous First Nations people. The problem is, you forgot because the church laid claims to your people's lands many centuries before they ever came to America or Canada, with the goal of erasing your ancestral memories, disconnect you from the earth and universal energies that exist within all of us, because they don't want people to govern themselves or have this knowledge. There's a great big wool pulled over the eyes of most people, this dichotomous duality and separation to keep people divided and keep them in power. And they are evildoers using people like batteries to fuel themselves and their corrupt systems. Here's a short factual rundown on part of this history. In 325, at the Council of Nicaea, Constantine the Great created the Catholic Church after a genocide of 45,000 Christians, where he tortured them to renounce reincarnation. At the same time, the religious books of all the villages of the empire are collected and thus created the Bible. In 327, Constantine, known as the Emperor of Rome, ordered Jerome to translate the Vulgate version in Latin, changing the Hebrew proper names and adulterating the scriptures. In 431, the cult of the Virgin was invented. In 594, purgatory was invented. In 610, the title of the Pope was invented. In 788, worship of pagan deities was imposed. In 995, the meaning of kadosh, set aside, was changed to saint. In 1079, the celibacy of priests is imposed, a totally Catholic word. In 1090, the rosary was imposed. In 1184, the Inquisition was perpetrated. In 1190, indulgences are sold. In 1215, confession was imposed on the priests. That confession thing kills me, man. How twisted is confession shit? My goodness. I'll bite my lip. In 1216, Pope Innocent III's Tale of the Terror of Bread, bracket, a god in Greek mythology, end bracket, which turns into human flesh, was invented. In 1311, the Baptismo prevailed. In 1439, the non-existent purgatory was dogmatized. In 1854, the Immaculate Conception was invented. In 1870, the absurdity of an infallible pope was imposed, in which the concept of contracting was invented. There are more than 2,500 things invented by this religion to enslave human beings to Christianity. Religions and their gods were created as a means of manipulation and business. As part of the evolution of the human being is the freedom of these means of manipulation. Although, little by little, the human being is in the era of awakening. Young people are less religious every day. For 2 or more generations, and the Catholic religion will be in its decline. I wish to see that moment. Everything will be part of our evolution. It is up to you to continue believing what you now believe to be the absolute truth, because you have not questioned yourself. Question yourself, and you'll see that all religions are an invention of man. Not to change this subject, but I mentioned shamanism at the beginning of this email. It came from animism as it developed. It originated in Siberia with the Evenki people who migrated to and through other places, teaching their ways to other people. Those areas, Siberia, Mongolia, Nepal, Tibet, India, Thailand, Hmong, have known about and worked with the Sabe for centuries. In the teachings, the first shamans to exist were called Ban Genkri. Genkri. Jenkri. The people who live in the forests, caves, mountains, whose bodies are covered in hair except their hands and faces. They are the first teachers of shamanism to the humans. The first human shamans were female and called Udigani. The Ban Genkri, would tune into the village people's energy and pick the ones they wanted to teach, usually children. Sometimes they would abduct the humans, sometimes they would invent them. Sometimes they would abduct the humans, sometimes they would invite them. The Sabe have their own shamans. They use the same tools and have their own drums. They practice ceremonies. No, it is not demonic or devil worship. Those beings only exist in Christian beliefs. But for a practice to be authentic in shamanism, there has to be a death state where your body is taken apart and put back together. Spirit travel to other realms to negotiate with spirits who are causing illness or misfortune on a family, or spirit possession for healing with the aid of helping spirits. There are three worlds that exist in a shamanic tree. It is the three worlds tree, just like the Norse Yggdrasil, Yggdrasil, and the Celtic worlds tree. The tree is the energy and spirit of the cosmology. It is also a mirror image of our body's own energy system. So, the Bon Gencree is probably the oldest information you will find on these beings. Do they still exist? Yes. Often called Yeti from those areas. Anyhow, the Bon Gencree are described as smaller than Sabe, but they are the same. Gencree in Nepalese means shaman. I studied these ways with a 27th generation traditional shaman from Nepal, who I spoke with in great length about this subject, and he confirmed to me they are the same, just different size due to location or genes, just like how there are short humans in some places on the planet and taller humans in other places. Not everyone can be called to this path. There's not for everyone, but only a small percentage of people who know they are called. Their shaman spirits and ancestors, Harshan spirits, will let a person know if they have been chosen to be of service to their people, their family, or community. Many do not heed that calling, for it's not fun and games. It's not airy, fairy, new age BS. It goes back thousands of years. It works as it had to work, or else people died. Anyhow, I hope this helps make sense. Love and peace to you and your family. Rhiannon. All right, there you go. It wasn't that long, was it? But it's fairly long. Interesting. I like the dates. I do like the dates. That's almost like a receipt, right? For any of you sleuths that want to look into it who might say, nope, BS, full of shit. Oh, well, I don't know. Sounds like somebody's done their homework to me. Do I have time to go dive into that and do all that digging myself? Not right now, that's for sure. But that's interesting. There's a lot of shit that has been created for humans to help manipulate us and control us, so don't you think? Teach their own. To each their own on everything, right? You want to be this, you want to be that? Give her. As long as it doesn't hurt anybody, give her. Give her. But I've always felt myself deep inside the second I hear about people going to confession, sit in a booth, and tell some prick beside you all your privacy, all your private shit. That is just so gross. That is such a gross thing to me to observe. Weird, right? It's kind of weird. I'll bite my lip on the Pope shit and all the Catholic shit. It's not my thing. Teach their own. It's not my thing. And I could easily shred them and mock them. But I won't. I won't. What else do we got? I'm going to read one more. One more. Excuse me. The maker of the pine cone fishing lure. Got him right here. Still. Crazy. Here we go. Hi, Steve. Thank you for the kind words you said about the pine cone lure and cheese knife I sent to you and Sarah. When I opened YouTube to watch yesterday's Hot Hunt video, I saw the image of you holding my lure. I wasn't expecting that. I was blown away. And all the incredibly kind words in the comments from members of the Hot Hunt family touched my heart and brought me to tears. Thank you. All right. I'm 67 years old and I am blessed with all that I have. I live in a beautiful part of the country, have a wonderful wife and family, and a small group of close friends. At this point in my life, I am so fortunate to have more than I need. So, Turning this into a, quote, job, end quote, to sell them and make money from is not my desire. I make these things for the pure joy that I get creating them. That being said, I've always wanted to do something good with the lures that I make. And since you posted yesterday's video and seeing your response and the response of the Howdown family, a thought came to mind. Maybe there is a way that I could give you some lures and you could sell them or even auction them off to raise money to feed the hungry folks that you and Sarah so kindly help. At this point in my life, I have more than I need. I don't want or need recognition or money. I have more than enough. If what I do makes people happy and can help someone less fortunate, that is more than enough payment for me. If this sounds interesting to you, Steve, please get in touch. If I can help you and Sarah give back to those less fortunate, that would be a blessing to me. Thanks for all that you do, Steve. You have found and are fulfilling your purpose on this earth. You're reaching and helping so many people. You're a shining light of truth in this crazy world we live in. What a blessing that is. Much love to you and Sarah. Roy. Roy, what a kind email. And what a generous act. Potential move that we can do here. But I'll tell you what. Just the fact that you offered up to do that publicly right here, right now, that also helps. Just doing that, suggesting that, helps motivate people to help people, right? We've helped a lot of people here over the years. I don't really think about it too much, but if you really think about it and look back, whether it be prayers or bringing awareness to somebody or passing on their GoFundMe link or whatever, right? We've helped a lot of people here. And one thing I can easily say that is true is that helping people is very rewarding. Excuse me, it's a big deal when you actually go help somebody you don't know nothing about. No, you don't know them. Doesn't matter if you know them or not. But helping people it's really good soul food. I'll tell you what, it's really good for you. It's good for the people you help too, right? So, anyways, I'll leave that offer up to the crowd here, the viewers, and whatever thoughts the viewers may have on this suggestion, throw it down in the comment section below. Okay? I mean, obviously, we don't need to make this... With the numbers we have here, the amount of people we have here, it's easy for something to snowball and get a little too big, So, I mean, obviously, we don't need to overwhelm you with 50,000 frickin' fishing lure orders, you know what I mean? But I'm quite certain if you wanted to throw a handful in a box or something, and then we figure out how we can get them to the people, like you said, if we could do it like fishing lures for food, you know what I mean? But we could do that if you want to do it once or something, for sure. That'd be great. But to start all of a sudden getting you to commit to a full-time, we need 100 more. You know what I mean? No. But if you want to do it, I'm going to sneeze. But if you wanted to throw a handful of these in a box and get them to the people, and then Sarah, could figure out how to do that so that some big business doesn't get a percentage of that food revenue created by these, that'd be pretty cool. And then in the end, at least you would know that all of your time that you put in to make a handful of these, it all turned into food for hungry kids. How cool would that be, right? So, I don't know. I don't even know how we would auction something off. How do you do that? I don't know. eBay or something? I haven't a clue. But some of you out there will have an idea and a good solid suggestion on what to do with this very kind, generous offer. All right, so you guys, I'm the messenger. All right, I'm the messenger for this kind person. You guys throw down in the comment section below this video your suggestion on what to do with a handful of these. All right? And how we could get a handful of these into some of your hands, and at the same time, exact same time, fill up some hungry tummies. That's a huge win. You're very kind, and we absolutely appreciate you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your kind words and your support of all the good, honest people here. Now, what am I going to do now? Something, right? There's always something to do. Always something to do. I better get my butt in gear and get it done because I am soon to be leaving here to go up north and see what comes. But I'll be back tomorrow. Share my story at howtohunt.com. Get it out. Get it into me. Get it shared. Word for word. You'll be shared. I don't have to share your name. The decals, are all over the frickin' planet. I got so many pictures in the inbox people sent in. It's crazy. It's my favorite decal that I got inside of my truck. But they made these ones with the white edge. They weren't supposed to. I cut the white edge off of mine. Another blacktail hunter. These are actually, side note, these bucks, I made these. And these bucks are actual bucks that I harvested with in my blacktail deer hunting spot. Both these racks. Anyway, babbling. Well, that's in the description below. Now, I've been solo here the last 24 hours, but everybody's coming home in a few hours, so I better get the house, me and the dog's messes cleaned up, and get the horses in, and get ready for another day. I'll be back tomorrow.